Okay. Peace and love, everyone. Welcome again to the Truth of the Matter 5-part series podcast where we are discussing all things mortgages. All right. In episode 2, we're going to be speaking about more knowledge on the mortgage industry as a whole. But we wanted to go back and answer one of the previous questions that was asked in the previous episode regarding refinancing. So the question was, can you sign as a trust when you refinance, even though you signed as a trust when you initially purchased the home? And the answer is yes. And Mikael, if you want to go ahead and expound on that uh, explanation for everyone to hear, I'd appreciate it.
Well, yeah, you can. You definitely can. It's kind of like you're thinking about correction status. If you are correcting your status, that's pretty much what you're doing here. It's actually the same thing. So either way you look at it, you're dealing with the purpose, principle, and what was the third one? Purpose, principle, and
I can't remember.
It'll come to me in a second.
Yeah, it'll come to you.
But you just want to understand what it is you're doing. You're going to sign your name, but you're going to put your title behind that as well.
Right.
And anything that applies to the debt is your name. Anything that doesn't apply to the debt is the trust.
Yes.
Because the trust can't hold debt, only assets. That's why the trust is there.
Yes.
So you're still able to do that same process, process, purpose, and principle. There it is, process, purpose, and principle. That's what it falls under. Still applies to process, purpose, and principle. So keep that in mind. Yep, you definitely can.
All right. And that was a great question because a lot of people may think that those two transactions are tied together, but essentially one transaction is really independent of another. When you initially go and sign for the first mortgage, that is a single set of securities all in its own, right? That's a contract that is a standalone contract. Well, of course, in addition to the promissory note and the deed being separate entities in themselves, that is still considered one transaction that you're completing with that lender, right? It has its own set of values that is attached to that transaction. So when you go to refinance, even though one may think that it is connected because the revenue or the values that is coming from the refinance is going to go to quote unquote pay off the previous mortgage. That's what a lot of people may think in terms of those two transactions being connected. But you are creating an entirely new security with that lender when you go to refinance. So there's a whole nother promissory note. There may be another conveyance of title depending on if the same parties are signing for the refinance. There's a new recording that is done with the Register of Deeds. It is a totally new transaction with a whole set of brand new securities that is created with that lender. All right. And this is the thing. Even when you go to refinance, there are still values being generated from the previous transaction. That it just doesn't stop generating value. It doesn't stop. It's still trading, right? So yeah, those transactions are essentially independent of one another. All right. So, but that was a great question to ask because a lot of people they just don't realize, right? So today's discussion is going to be surrounding more knowledge surrounding the mortgage industry as a whole. And this is a very important topic because some people need context and some people need a history lesson, right, to really understand what is going on. Now, there are so many different moving parts when you're dealing with a mortgage, all right? But I want, Mikael, if you can, just take the time out to share your experience in terms of what you saw when you were working in the mortgage industry. Now, just to let you all know, both of us have worked in the mortgage industry with different lenders, right? Mikael and I have both worked in the foreclosure department as well as the bankruptcy department dealing with these lenders. And I've also did a little bit of loss mitigation work when I was in corporate America. So we've seen things. And so now that we know what we know, we can reflect back on what it is that we learned while we were in corporate America and sort of connect the dots and make it make sense for those people who may not have been able to have that experience, or they may be struggling to connect the dots. Now it all makes sense. It's like a full 360 for us, right? Because of what we know. But I want you, Mikhail, if you can, to just share a little bit about what you saw and the one thing that opened your eyes and you were never the same after this event occurred at your job, working in corporate America, um, in the mortgage industry. What was that one turning point in your life where you knew that everything started from that point in terms of dealing with mortgages?
Well, for me, I decided to go into the financial industry. I was in the military, Air Force, and in the military, you have different clearances. It goes from classified at the bottom, goes to private, then secret, and then top secret. So I had classified clearance, I had private clearance, and I had secret clearance. So that means I've gone through all kind of FBI checks and all that stuff, the different FBI locations. And then the military does their checks as well. So when I went into the financial industry, they saw all of that, and they placed me in a position where I was accessing private and secret mortgage information. So the company I worked for was the largest mortgage company in the nation. They actually owned 32 mortgage companies. So this is going back to the late 80s, 90s, getting closer to the end of the 90s. They were the largest. They owned 32 mortgage companies. So I worked in bankruptcy. I was a bankruptcy resolution specialist. So working in that position, I got to go to the court system, which is PACER. So I have my own login for PACER. That means I can see every court case across the country. No matter what it is, I can find it. I can see it. I can read it. Have access to all of it. And if someone is in foreclosure, they file a bankruptcy to stop the foreclosure. Okay, great. We got to put you on a bankruptcy status and take you out of foreclosure so we don't cause a lawsuit. So I didn't talk to the homeowners. I didn't even see their escrow account. Escrow accounts that I did see was the second and third escrow account on every residential mortgage. And this company had over 50 million residential mortgage. They had over half of the entire residential mortgage population in the United States. So at that time, it was about 85 million residential mortgages. They had over 50 million of them because of those 32 mortgage companies. So I would scroll page by page by page, and I see all this money, just money, large amounts of money. And then as I slowed down in my job, I started looking at them and being nosy, for lack of a better word. I was just being nosy. And I saw that every account, when I opened it up, had a person's name on it, and a person's name on it, and a person's name on it. I didn't know who these people were. So the third account was an escrow account, but it had a lot more money in there. A lot more money. And I was working, doing my job, and about 7-8 months after I was working there, I asked my coworker, I said, hey, who are these people on accounts that I'm dealing with here? She said, that's the homeowners. I said, so that's the money they have to pay? She said, no, that's the money that belongs to them.
Wait a minute. So when you were working, you said that you saw 2 escrow accounts?
Well, I worked on a second and a third escrow account.
Okay.
Every name was tied to 2 escrow accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So as I scrolled down, the second escrow account had a person's name on it.
Mm-hmm.
The third escrow account didn't. It had a trust name on there.
Okay.
So I kept saying, who are these people? Well, at first I wasn't saying anything. I'm just doing my job, learn my job, keep my mouth shut, and mind my own business, right? But then I opened them up. Some said, open them up. The spirit was messing with me. He was dealing with me on this. He was telling me to do stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Do it. I just want to work and go home. No, you are not here to do anything but learn. The Holy Spirit told me when I saw this, I said, okay, this is heavy. I really don't want to get involved in this. I just want to come and do my 8 hours, get my paycheck at the end of the week, and I'm done. Mm-hmm. And the Spirit told me, you are here to learn, not to get a paycheck. So now I'm sitting here thinking, I'm here to learn, but not get a paycheck. But they're going to give me a paycheck at the end of the week. What am I supposed to do with it? That's what I'm thinking. I'm being sarcastic. I was sarcastic when I heard that because it just didn't make sense to me at the time. Even though the Spirit said it, hey, it don't make sense at first. Take a minute. It took me a while. Because all I'm receiving is monopoly money. Mm-hmm. So I'm here really to learn. And once I learn what I need to learn, it's time to move on. Just shake off the dust and move on. I learned what I need to learn over here. Let's go over here. So I started, after 7-8 months, she told me that was the homeowner. So that second escrow account has hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. Belongs to the homeowner. They don't even know it.
Belong to the homeowner.
Full disclosure. No full disclosure. Didn't know anything about it. That's not full disclosure. So the third escrow account belongs to them. So that's how I know that they sell the promissory note to an investor, and the profit they get from selling that promissory note goes into the second and the third escrow account. Now, they couldn't have done that without what? Your signature, because you are the money. So they had to put something away for you, but they didn't have to disclose it to you. So it sits in that second escrow account.
So let me back up for just a moment. The second escrow account, because this all ties back to the securitization process, does it not? And
yeah, it does.
Okay. So the proceeds from the sale of the note are distributed to certain parties, and certain parties receive percentages based on the sale of the note. And so what happens is, after the note is monetized for 10 times the value, 10% of that monetization is deposited back into the escrow account for the homeowner. Is that right?
10% goes back to that homeowner because they have to pay them something, because they gave them permission to sell, securitize, monetize a security with their signature on it because they're the money. We have to actually give them something. We'll put it in the second escrow account, but the law does not say that we have to disclose this. That's on you to know what you're doing before you go handle business. If you don't know, then you're going to be the one suffering for lack of knowledge. So that's what I saw. Working. This is my job. I didn't talk to homeowners. I only spoke to the courts and attorneys. That's all I spoke to. That's all I spoke to. See, in bankruptcy, you can't hide any of these counts. Right. So bankruptcy court is going to see the second and the third escrow account. But they won't let you see that page. Mm-hmm. You won't see that page from them because they have access to the public and the private ledger regarding this security and everything tied to it. So they see everything. So these escrow accounts that are set up are being used for a specific purpose. You have the investment side of things, and then you have the asset side of things. So the power of attorney that's signed at closing gives them permission to establish these escrow accounts. This specifically the asset escrow account, right? That is established under the home buyer's loan number. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay. That's correct. Now, the second escrow account, think about how smart they are. The second escrow account has your name on it, but guess what? It doesn't have on it.
Mm.
It does not have your social security number on the account. And you know the reason why it does not have your social security number on there?
Why?
Because if it had your social security number on the account, it will create a taxable event.
Mm.
Now you done brought in the IRS to this situation.
Wow. This is deep.
So they don't put your social security number on that second escrow account. That's why you don't know about it, because if they did, the IRS will be contacting you about an account. You'll be like, what account? I don't know anything about it. So they don't put your social security number on it. Loan number, but not your social security number.
This is deep. This is so deep. So they're holding the monies in the second escrow account, which is essentially supposed to be for the benefit of the buyer, but they're not disclosing that that money is there.
Of
And
the issuer of the security.
right.
You are the issuer of the security. You started all of this.
Yes.
And they cut you out of the whole deal.
They cut you out of the entire deal. But they have to they have to leave it there for a specified period of time before it's no longer accessible. However, when you really think about it, there's still a way for you to go back and claim those values. But most people don't know this because they're not operating in their proper capacity. Right? They have to you have to have a certain status to be able to go back and claim those values. Okay?
Yeah. Once you do that, once you have that status in place, the world is a jewel.
Yes.
The world is a jewel. And then only thing that you have to deal with is which blessing you're going to receive first.
This is true.
That's the way I look at it. You know, you can look at it differently, but life is a lot better in the private than it is in the public.
Mm-hmm.
You're not dealing with credit debt. You're not in that slavery system anymore. You're just not. You know, and you know, I tell people this as well. You know, I tell everybody, I don't care, everybody. Some of you have heard me saying, if you have a birth certificate, you better be apostilling those birth certificates. I've been saying that for a long time. I never really liked the authentication because when I study and find out that the United States has no authority, they're not even sovereign, they're just a corporation. They're not an international banker. The United States is a corporation. So why would I go to anything dealing with the government to get them to recognize some of my documents?
Hold on. Yes. Yes.
So you have to go above them. You have to go above their head. You have to rise above Babylon. So the state, yeah, apostille. But after the state apostille, you know, you got to go above them. You got to go to an international level and get that apostille. And now you have something to work with. You really have something to work with.
Okay.
It's really life changing too.
Right. So before hold on though, but before you go too deep, because remember we are on YouTube. This is not a private weekly. It's not a weekly call where we're out there right now, right, and discussing these things. So we have to be very careful in the information that we're releasing on this particular channel. All right. So back to the escrow. We know that there's 3 escrow accounts, right? For residential mortgages, there are 3 escrow accounts. All right. So in general, most people are only aware of the first one, and that is the one that they typically use to pay the taxes and insurance.
Yeah.
Maybe some other things, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Mortgage, taxes, and insurance.
Okay, so that would be considered the debt escrow.
Yeah.
All right, that's done at loan creation. Now, the second escrow account is the asset escrow.
Yeah.
Okay. And the asset escrow account is the account to which the 10% is deposited back after the promissory note is monetized for 10 times the value.
Well, once it's sold, because remember we were selling our notes to a financial institution, and they were already in place to buy the notes after we was working out in Oklahoma and Texas and so forth. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we already had an investor to purchase the note from. Now that investor would pay 10 times the value. Now
Yes.
that investor says, "Oh man, I paid $3 million for this security. I need to monetize it to get my money back." So that's what they do. They
Mm-hmm.
take that security to make their money back. They got to securitize it, register with SEC, and trade it.
Yes. Yes. All right. So in addition to that, that's the second escrow account. Then the third escrow account is the investment escrow.
That belongs to the lender.
Yes, and that is where the 90% goes after the sale of the note. The 90% representing the proceeds from the sale of the note. That's where those monies are deposited.
Yep, that's it.
It's completely diabolical. It's just diabolical. These mortgages, and I want you all to think about what happened back in 2008, 2009 when we were going through the mortgage crisis, right? They got a lot of people to sign up for these adjustable rate mortgages, these balloon mortgages, and when the industry changed and the interest rates went up, a lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people signed documentation for like these what do you call it, Mikael? These non-doc loans, these signature loans, right? And so all of this monetization and securitization was taking place 2008, 2009. All of these people lost their homes while the lenders and the investors were making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
And the wickedness of it is that they were making monies even outside of it, every time that any transaction took place with that mortgage, or anytime you receive a statement in the mail, that's another form of security. So, like I said, hand over fist, they're monetizing over and over and over and over and over and over again because it's never enough. Corporate greed at its best. Corporate
Yeah.
greed. All right. And then they have the nerve to charge you private mortgage insurance, which they say is going to protect them in case you default. It's sickening. you know, it's just sickening. But this is information that people need to know about because you have to know that this is taking place so that you would be empowered to want to do something about it. You got to be empowered. And see, the thing of the matter is that there are so many ways that they are convincing people not to look deeper into the matters of their own personal business. You're so excited to purchase the house. You're so excited to go shopping for new furniture. You're so excited to get those keys. You're so excited to show your new house to your family. You're so excited to have your first social event at your home. You're so busy with life that you don't have the time to really dig deep and research and find out exactly what is happening, nor do you even care about signing in a way that is going to preserve your rights. It doesn't matter because you got your house. It doesn't even matter. It really doesn't matter, you know? And it's just one of those things. And so now the way that the housing market is today, what's happening is in the United States, there is a large majority of private investors, hedge funds, LLCs, and corporations that is dominating the housing market right now because they are buying up the real estate so that they can turn the nation into they can turn the United States into a nation of renters. There are more corporate owned housing in 2024 than ever before. And so they are removing the ability away from the people to become owners. And so a lot of people are just like, you know what? Rates are up. It's a seller's market right now because real estate has gone up since COVID. Real estate has almost doubled its value. It's definitely a seller's market. And a lot of people don't want to pay the price, so they will be renting, and then they don't want to take on the responsibility of owning a home, not realizing that there are some values that they need to tap into on the private side. There are values there. Something is happening, people, behind the scenes that we need to be made aware of. You need to know what's going on, which is the whole purpose for this podcast series. Mikael, is there anything else that the people need to know, or anything else that you want to share about your experiences in the mortgage industry outside of what you saw with the second and third escrow account?
Well, I could share some more stuff that I saw that would blow your mind. It would just blow your mind. You'll be sitting there twiddling your thumbs the rest of the night when you hear this, but you gotta really think about it, process it, and apply principles. Say, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense because I had access to Pacer.
Yes.
Boy, they should have never gave me access to Pacer.
And for those of you all that don't know, Pacer Pacer is a system that houses all of the court cases in the country. All right, you have internal access to Pacer. I had access to Pacer when I worked in the bankruptcy department in corporate America. You can literally, because we had to go and check Pacer to verify an active bankruptcy filing for someone who was about to go to foreclosure. Because when you file bankruptcy, it places a stay, meaning it halts the foreclosure process once you go into bankruptcy. So we had to go into Pacer and check when a client called in and stated that they were in bankruptcy. We logged into Pacer so that we can check to see if what they were saying were true. Go ahead, Mikael.
So going into Pacer, I would look at the bankruptcy cases. And when I look at the bankruptcy cases, if there's any files on the case, you're going to see a little icon. If there's no files, no icon. Just, they typed in information about the debts and on the ledger, and then they do your credits on the ledger and everything like that. But you normally don't see any documents.
Oh, I know what you're about to say. I don't know if we should tell them that one.
Well, hold off on that one.
Yeah, because people may try to go out there and do it. You know how people are. You know
Well,
how people are. They will try to go out there and do it, and mm-mm. You got it. Listen, folks, you all are going to have to get connected in the private network. I'm telling you, because we have seen some stuff. We know some stuff. All right. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that you don't know about, that you need
the
to be
people in the
made
private
aware of.
network has heard me talk about this on the
Yes, they
call.
have. Yes, they have.
But not the general public.
Nope. Nope.
No.
Mm-mm. Not the general public. And see, you know, we love to share information with the public, but we also have to be very discerning, because people, they're blinded sometimes. And because they don't know what they don't know, they will go out here and they will try to do things, and it's just going to get them in trouble. And so, we have to be responsible with the information that we share. But if you come on to our private calls or come into the private network, you will hear the story that Mikael was about to tell. You will hear the story and you will know exactly what we mean. But again, we just wanted to come on and share some more information about the mortgage industry that we feel is important for you all to know, so that you all can be empowered and look at your situation and see some of the things that you can begin to share with others, and things that they may need to be aware of when they're dealing with a mortgage, right? Like I said before, this is the biggest purchase that one will make in a lifetime. And the sad thing is that you think that you have received a house for a loan, and that is entirely not the case. If you knew what that piece of real estate actually represented, it would blow your mind. It would really blow your mind.
The home is really a perk. I see it as a perk. Go and get a membership at the gym. They give you hot towels. That's a perk. The house is the perk. The money is the contract. They're gonna make a whole lot more money than what that house is worth on those securities. They're making a whole lot more money.
Yeah.
All the securities. They're gonna make that house 20 times over.
This is true.
And they got you stuck underneath the house paying a debt that does not really belong to you.
This is very true. And
And we got some other stories that's gonna blow your mind in a private network.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. So in closing, again, this is episode 2, Industry Knowledge on Mortgages, part 2 of a 5-part series. Make sure that you all come back and join us for the next session. Let's see. Our next date, let's pull this up here. And Mikhail, remind me, but I believe our first date is going to be on July the 1st. Let's see here. Yes, July the 1st. July the 1st. And we've already placed the broadcast out here on the channel. So you definitely want to go ahead and click to notify yourself. We'll be going live again on July 1st at 8 p.m. For the third installment to the 5-part series podcast, The Truth of the Matter. All right. So we hope and pray that you all will come back and join us then. Now, let me make a quick announcement before we close. For those of you that are looking to increase your FICO score, right? If you're in the market for a mortgage, or if you're in the market for a vehicle, or if you're just looking for an additional extension of credit, we have a credit class coming up on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. 4 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the link to class is dropped in the description of this video so that you all can go ahead and sign up. You definitely will not want to miss this. If you don't want to wait for this video to render, then you can just go ahead and go to www.readynationtrust.com and go to the events tab, and you will see that we have 2 sessions coming up for the Level Up credit series. We have one coming up this coming Saturday, and then we have another coming up on July the 6th. Now, I know most of you are going to be celebrating the pagan 4th of July. Yes, I did say pagan because we should not be celebrating those holidays. You're going to be out here doing fireworks and eating and cooking and all of this stuff, right? But you have to ask yourself, what is more important, socializing or getting your life together? So I expect to see you all in class. If you know that you're trying to get your funds together so that you can make a move or maybe potentially join the private network, now is the time for you to attend a session. We're doing 2 sessions that are exactly the same. So you're going to choose one session or the other, not both. One session or the other, not both. Just had to say that twice. All right. Go ahead and come to class so that you can begin to do the things that you need to do to bring up your FICO score so that you can move forward. Right. All right. So, Mikhail, any closing thoughts for the people? Final thoughts.
Yeah, anybody that wants to have the conversation, and they, I know some people have mentioned they really want to get started. Let me know in Telegram, and we'll tell you what the steps are. As I said before, I believe I said this before. Everybody should set up a proton.me, private and encrypted, proton.me, and communicate privately using proton.me.
Perfect. And so what I will do is make sure that I link that in the description of this video. I will link the Telegram, and I will also link the Proton for those that need the link for that. Alrighty, folks. Again, thank you all so much for joining us for episode 2. We appreciate you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Share out this video to anyone that you think will benefit from the information. We appreciate your support, and we will see you all in the next session to be aired live on July the 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Peace and love, everyone, and have a blessed evening.
Peace and love.